Samad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Shri Jagganath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki, Shri Jagganath Rathayatra Mahotsava Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay.
Just 1 second. Could everybody please put their phones on silent? That would be very much appreciated, please.
And Beso, BCAIS.
There's some space in the front.
And there's beautiful space. Look at this in the front. Oh.
So if we could move forward.
So nice. Anyway, whatever.
Is it coming in?
Ajahn. Beso. That's Gujarati, isn't it? Beso?
Gujarati.
BCAIS. Hindi hai. Malum hai. Theek hai. Aapka naam kya hai? What's your name? Karunamai Krishna Das. Wow. Haribol. Nice to meet you at close quarters. So, devotees, Hare Krishna. First of all, it's really nice to be here in the home of Rati Manjari Devi Dasi and Vipin Bhai. Yes, how nice. And they are, well, I guess it's Rati Manjari, right? Is a disciple of my dear old friend, Krishna Das Swami Maharaj. Gee whiz, we first met in 1973, sort of in the middle of 73 or so, when he moved into the temple in Berry Place, central London. And yeah, we knew each other very, very well. What a great devotee. So anyway, everyone, nice to be here with you. If you don't mind, I'll speak in English, if that's okay.
Yes.
If I was to speak in Gujarati, it would be very short class. Hindi, it would be a little longer, but not so long. So here we go. We have been requested, we have been ordered to talk something about Jagganath. Jagganath. Sri Jagganath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki. Look at them, aren't they just amazing? I don't know if I've ever been so close. They're really exceptional. But we'll say some words about Jagganath directly and related, and so on like that. Right, so here we go. Everyone, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
And some prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastityate Jatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vajkapacharubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha Paritanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We offer our respects to all the devotees. So, I heard, well actually Tribhangananda Prabhu, sitting there, he just told me that on Saturday, right, was Rath Yatra, Jagganath Rath Yatra in Edinburgh.
Yes.
And Sunday in Glasgow.
Hi, Jimmy.
Okay, Glasgow. And coming up, I forget, but there's many others. Reading, London, in about 10 days or something. And this is all celebrating Jagganath. Because I think many of you are from Gujarati backgrounds, isn't it? Some. No problem. Oh, fine, Jane. See, I speak Gujarati. Yeah. So that's West India, but Jagganath is more East India. But it's okay, because Krishna Jagganath is universal. And not long ago, it was, what was it? Maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that. We had big Rath Yatra in, I think it was Baroda. Some of you, your families may have come from that side. It was Baroda or Surat, I forget exactly, but one of those places. Big Rath Yatra. And there were millions of people. It was just massive, gigantic. Yeah, because Jagganath, look at Jagganath, so amazing, such an extraordinary form of the Lord. Generally, like here, you see, here's Krishna, Gopal Krishna, with his cow, and, well, a few cows actually. And this is normally how we see Krishna, right? Or any deities, any murtis. There you could say human-like, like that. Of course, they're superhuman, Supreme Lord, but still they look basically human-like. But look at Jagganath, Baladeva, and Subhadra. Of course, they have some human-type features, but you don't see people who look like that, because they're very special. Let me tell you a story, how there are a few stories, there's a number of stories actually, explaining how Krishna, because Jagganath right here, this is Krishna, you can see, he's blackish, his face is blackish. This is Krishna. And then on the far end, if you can see, is Balaram. He's the brother of Krishna, and he's white. White. You know, people would say, I am a white man. Or Tribhangananda Prabhu. You see Tribhangananda sitting there on the settee. He's a white man. But he's not white, is he? Look. Neither am I. But Balaram is actually white. He's actually white. And then in the middle is Subhadra, their sister. And there's a number of stories, but let me just tell you one for starters. That Lord Krishna, he appeared in Mathura, actually, in the prison house of Kamsa. But his father, Vasudev, who was there in the prison, he immediately took him across the river, Yamuna, to Gokula. It's a little distance. It is some distance from Mathura. Yeah. Have you been to Gokula? Have you been to Mathura? Everyone? Okay, good. So you know what I'm talking about. There's a whole big, who is it? It's Pusti Marg, I think. Anyway, there's a whole big Gujarati place there in Gokula. Yeah. Right. So therefore Krishna, on the first night, when he appeared in this world, he went across, and then he stayed there in Gokula. And then after maybe 3 years, 4 months, plus or minus, he was transferred to Vrindavan town. Gokula is in the greater, like the region of Vrindavan, Vrajamandala, it's called. So Gokula is one side, like eastern side across the Yamuna. Vrindavan, the town, is central. And Krishna stayed there another 3 years, 4 months, approximately. One of our great acharyas has given the exact timings that he was in these different places. Then third place, now 3 years and about 4 months, Gokula, another 3 years and 4 months, Vrindavan, where the town is now, more or less. And then after that, another 3 years, 4 months, or thereabouts. He was in Nandgaon. I don't know if you've been there. It's quite a famous pilgrimage place. So he was living there. And then from Nandgaon, Krishna left Vrindavan and he went to Mathura. And then he stayed in Mathura. It's about 25 years or 26 years. It's something along those lines. He was in Mathura, and then he went to Dwarka, Gujarat. So Krishna is adopted Gujarati. He is related to you if you are from Gujarati background. Right. And he stayed there. Oh, Krishna, he stayed there like, I don't know, about almost 90 years, at least 85 years in Gujarat, in Dwarka. So now the thing is this is the thing. In regard to why the Lord takes these unusual looking forms as compared to here, say, Gopal Krishna. Just unusual, very striking and very different. So he left Vrindavan, or the Vrindavan area, and all the devotees there, they're all his greatest devotees. So many of them descended from the kingdom of God when Krishna came, when Krishna descended. They came to be with him. And so many of them were living in that Vrindavan region, that area. But then Krishna left. And they were devastated when Krishna left. We have all felt separation from someone who was close to us. Maybe someone died, or someone just went away and just to another country to live or something like that. And we felt the loss of that person's company, and it really hurt sometimes. But the devotees of Vrindavan, their relationships with Krishna were so deep, so extremely deep, that, for example, Mother Yashoda, Krishna's mother, it's said by one of our great acharyas, Jagganath Das Goswami, he says that Mother Yashoda, in her motherly mood, as far as she's concerned, Krishna is not God. Krishna is her son, and that is it. And if people tell her, well, sometimes people do say, your son's God, then he just laughs at them. What are you talking about? He's not God, he's my son. So in her mood of motherly concern to look after her dear little son, Krishna, Jagganath Das Goswami says, she is ready to give her life 100 million times if there is just one spot of perspiration on his forehead. She's so concerned about Krishna. Many of you are mothers, I know that, and you have concern for your children, but don't mind me saying it, it's not on that level. This is something else altogether. Yes, and so Krishna left. And if you go there to Nandagram, if you're familiar with the area, then you can go up by the temple and there's a sort of, elevated area around the outside of the temple courtyard. And you can see around the surrounding countryside. And there is the road, the old road to Mathura. It goes straight out, just straight out. And Krishna went out on that road. And some of the devotees, when Krishna went out on that road, then Krishna had said, don't worry, I'll be back. I'm coming back. Don't panic. I'll be back. So some of them, they waited on the road because he said he'd be back. He did come back too, but about 60 years later. But they stood there on the side of the road. They didn't go home. They didn't, go to the supermarket to buy something to eat. They just stood there and waited. And you know what? They were so concerned. Maybe Krishna will come back, and he'll come back very quickly and we may miss him. So they decided, we will not blink. They didn't blink for 60 years. Haribol. This is so far beyond our capabilities. It's just, it's another world altogether. Right, so they did like that. And because their love for Krishna was so great. Now, what happened was that sometime later, actually it was plus or minus 60 years later, there was a great solar eclipse. And traditionally in India at least, when there's an eclipse, when there was an eclipse back in the past, everybody would go to some sacred place, and where there was some sacred river or some sacred lake, something like that. And when the eclipse, well, just before the eclipse happened, like for a day or two before, they would do all sorts of ceremonies and pujas and so on and so forth, because eclipses are inauspicious. They're not auspicious. There's a bad energy connected with eclipses. So therefore they go to the sacred places to protect them from that bad negative energy. And when the actual eclipse happened, they would go into that river or that lake, the body of water, during the whole actual eclipse, and only at the end they'd come out. So there was a big solar eclipse. And Krishna now is living in Dwarka. And, you know, I'll tell you one thing. I'm sure Krishna spoke Gujarati. Really. I'm completely sure. So don't worry. You know, if you go back to Godhead, to be with Krishna, you can speak to him in Gujarati, or Hindi, or Bhojpuri, or whatever, or Tamil, whatever, or English. Krishna speaks excellent English. West London, the Queen's English. So anyway, so Krishna, and you know, when Krishna was there in Dwarka, he married 16,108 wives. When we, you know, occasionally every now and then go to a wedding of some devotees, then we warn the young men, don't try to compete with Krishna. Just one will do. So anyway, Krishna and his wives and various others from Dwarka, they all went to Kurukshetra. From Dwarka, if you know the geography, it's a long way. It's a long way. I would imagine it's 1,000 kilometers or something. But they went all that way to Kurukshetra. Because even at that time, Kurukshetra was famous for being a very sacred place. If you know your Bhagavad Gita, then you would know first verse. Who is it? Sanjaya says. No, it's Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra says, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsamaha. That at that Dharmakshetra, that sacred place, Kurukshetra, then everyone was assembled for the battle. So anyway, Krishna and his wives and all the others from Dwarka, they went all the way to Kurukshetra, because it's such a famous sacred place. And at Kurukshetra, you would know if you've been there, there is Brahma Sarovar, big lake, very sacred. They say, you remember about that, right? They say it is the navel of Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, they say. Right, that's big and it's sacred. So the idea was to be there in that sacred place, and when the actual eclipse happened, go into the water there. There was space for thousands and tens of thousands of people. So also from Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda and the gopis, Srimati Radharani, Lalita Vishaka, and so on, the gopis, the cowherd boys, they also went to Kurukshetra. It's not so far from there, it's about 400 kilometers, but they all went. And they're looking forward so much to seeing Krishna, because you know, Krishna is Makan Chor. I know. In South Africa, we also have Gujaratis, not as many as here, but there's quite a few. And we have one family, very nice devotees. And the family name is Makan. I don't know if we have any Makans here. So yeah, they've got to watch out, because Krishna's Makan Chor. And he might steal them. And Mother Yashoda was, because Krishna was developing a stealing habit. You know the story. Stealing the butter, Makan Chor. And Mother Yashoda, in her motherly concern, was afraid he's going to, he's stealing butter now. When he grows up, he'll steal motor cars or buffalo carts or something. And maybe he'll become the head of the Makan Mafia. Yes. And people will think, what sort of useless mother did he have? So she was worried. Anyway, that's another story, isn't it? But they all gathered there in Kurukshetra. And what a reunion. What a reunion. Just completely out of this world. The emotions, the feelings, the love. We all have some love, and it's very special, but not like that. Not like that. So they met. And you know what happened was that when Krishna met the devotees from Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and particularly the gopis, Radharani, and her friends, the queens, Krishna's wives, were there. They were observing this. And they saw that when they met, Krishna and the Brijbasis, that the affection that was there was, even by their standards, it was just something practically incomprehensible. Amazing love, affection. So, therefore, the queens, Krishna's queens, they were thinking and discussing, what must it have been like when Krishna was living in Vrindavan and associating with these devotees, and particularly Radharani and the gopis, every day? What must it have been like? And they couldn't even really imagine, but they felt, we really want to understand what it was like. So we need to find someone who was there, who'll be willing to tell us. So who are they going to find? Who do they know already? So it's not like a stranger. Someone they know, but who was in Vrindavan at that time. And you know who that was? I'm testing you now. Oh, no, you know everything. So. Yes, sir. Rohini. Well done. That's very good. Both phone chain. All right. So Rohini was there. She had been in Vrindavan. She's mother of Balaram. But when Krishna and Balaram left Vrindavan, went to Mathura, and then later to Dwaraka, she went also. So she knew the whole situation in Vrindavan. But she also knew the queens in Dwaraka. So they felt comfortable asking her, could you please tell us what it was like in Vrindavan, particularly between Krishna and the gopis? So, it's a bit of a long story, but Rohini agreed, yes, I can tell you. But in order to avoid causing a disturbance, she took them, the queens, a little way away around the corner, not far, but just a few hundred meters away, just where they couldn't be seen, to explain what it was like. So she was explaining, and the queens, it was such an experience. The pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, they were not familiar with them, and particularly with Radharani and the gopis. But after a little while, Krishna, he's back in the main camp or the main area. Krishna started wondering, where are my wives? 16,108 of them. Where have they all gone? What is happening? So he thought, I'm going to find them. So off he went, looking here, looking there, looking all over. And then he saw them. Aha! Over there in the distance a little, sort of like they're hiding. And they're listening to Rohini. What's she telling them? What's going on here? So Krishna, he didn't want to just walk in and, say hi or something like that. So he just snuck around behind and hid, but just close so he could hear what Rohini was saying. And Rohini was telling Krishna's wives about Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes and how he killed different demons, and he did this and he did that, and he danced with the gopis, and it was very beautiful. And Krishna's listening to this, and he's remembering, oh yes, I used to do this, I used to do that. Oh, how it was in Vrindavan. And he became overwhelmed, and more and more overwhelmed as he's hearing more and more of his pastimes. And he became so overwhelmed that his body transformed into this form you see here. This is Krishna, Jagganath. Black face, but just see, big round eyes, because he's amazed. Wow, incredible. I cannot, imitate big round eyes. But anyway, like that. And his arms partially retracted into his body. We're not used to that sort of thing happening, are we? But here we're talking about something really superhuman. Yes, and big smile. Just a big smile. Because he's in such ecstasy hearing it. This is Dwaraka Krishna. Little differences there. Not too much, but little difference between Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna in Dwaraka. So Jagganath means Dwaraka Krishna, who was hearing about his pastimes in Vrindavan and developing Vrindavan mood, which is like a higher mood, you could say. And then to cut a longish story short, Balaram, Lord Balaram, Krishna's brother, he suddenly started wondering, where's Krishna? What's going on? Where's he gone? Something is happening. So